Welcome, everybody. My name is Brian Hoelscher. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of MSD. We're here this evening to talk about Project Clear and the proposed funding for the next 4 years. This rate change proposal will address rates from July 2016 through June 2020 and is a continuation of our Project Clear program. Ask questions anytime. I will answer them. We will also have stopping points during the presentation as we change topics to see if anybody has a question. At the end of the presentation, we will let everybody know how they can respond or comment to our Rate Commission. We will also indicate to you where other meetings are at, as well as how you can respond to specific questions or specific concerns you have regarding this rate proposal. You go to slide 2. Quick update and reminder on Project Clear. It's an initiative to improve water quality that eliminates many of the wastewater concerns here in St. Louis. It's a long-term effort by MSD, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Missouri Coalition and the Environment to address these issues. We'll invest billions of dollars over the next generation in planning, design, and construction to alleviate the concerns regarding water quality. You go to slide 3, quick reminder of some of the components of Project Clear. First is get the rain out. It's one of the biggest components of our program. The biggest problem we have is basement backups and overflows in the system caused by stormwater getting in the system, either that's not supposed to be there or there's too much of it. The most cost-effective way to address these issues, if at all possible, is to get the rain out and stop the stormwater before it enters the system. Second is repair and maintain the existing system, make sure it's up to speed and able to address all the issues and function as it was designed to. And finally, build system improvements. When I talk about overflows, MSD system does not overflow in a dry rain event, in a dry weather event. It takes rain in order to cause an overflow. But we do have some system improvements that are needed in order to increase capacity and possibly store some flows. So you will see actual construction going on up to and including some very large tunnels. If you go to slide 4, I want to go over the MSD's rate proposal. On slide 5, just some information about MSD. First sewers in MSD were built in the 1950s in response to a cholera epidemic here in St. Louis in 1849. Prior to 1954, the sewer system that we use was operated by 79 separate entities. MSD was created in 1954 and to address the issues caused by that. MSD's service area was basically inside 270 when first created. We then annexed out to St. Louis County, out to about 109 in Wildwood. Exactly where those demarcations are and when it was and where the boundaries were at those different times, we'll see later when I show you some maps. We began providing stormwater service in the original area in 1954 and then ultimately in the balance of the district in 1989. Our rate proposal needs to be brought before our Rate Commission. This is an organization established in 2000 based on a charter change here at MSD. We have 15 organizations representing the community. Those 15 organizations appoint an individual to serve on the Rate Commission. They review all the proposed changes and then renders a recommendation to our Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees will review these recommendations and move forward with what they think is an appropriate rate increase in order to address the issues presented in the rate proposal. You go to slide 6. You need to remember that MSD is 2 utilities. One, we provide wastewater service. We collect and treat used waters from sinks, toilets, floor drains, washing machines, travels through miles of pipe, and eventually gets to one of 7 treatment plants. This flow is then treated to a standard that allows us to discharge in the local rivers of the area. The wastewater service is currently funded by a monthly rate that's based on your potable water usage, and the revenues collected from that rate can only be spent on wastewater issues. We're also a stormwater utility. We collect rain and other drainage that won't naturally absorb into the ground and transmit it to the local rivers, creeks, and streams. We also address regulatory requirements regarding pollutants that are in stormwater runoff that enter the creeks and streams and impact their water quality. Stormwater service is funded through a small fee, but mostly through property taxes. And you'll see when we get into stormwater, One of the issues we want to address is everybody pays a different stormwater tax and thus gets a different service level. You go to slide 7, we're going to go over the 4-year rate plan, our fiscal 17 through 20, starting in June 2016. First of all, the wastewater rate change, we'll address that. If you turn to slide 8 and then slide 9, what does the current structure look like? In our past rate commission cycle, our fiscal 13 through 16, we gave a schedule of cost of needed repairs and improvements in order to maintain the system and ensure compliance with all state and federal regulations. That rate proposal identified a little over $971 million worth of work that needed to be done. Right now, by June 2016, the end of the current rate cycle, we plan on appropriating just about $890 million of capital work. That's 95% of the amount that was requested. And all projects that we've appropriated, 80% of those projects have been awarded within 2 months of the original schedule. Now that expenditure being less than planned is good news. Projects have come in under budget. We have been allowed to do certain work, extra work, that we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. The important thing is we are on budget and we're on schedule for the wastewater program. If you go to slide 10, discussing operation and maintenance of the wastewater system as it currently exists, we had proposed needing $716 million worth of funding in order to maintain the actual sewer system and plants. We're projecting we will spend $700 million by the end of this rate cycle. Examples of some of the activities is bringing our closed circuit TV, which is allowed to view the inside of the sewers and find out when we have blockages or need improvements. We've inspected 62,000 manholes, 6,600 manholes have been rehabilitated. We've inspected 1,900 miles of sewers. And overall, we're estimating that the total reduction of basement backups and overflows is 66% from prior when we started this program. You go to slide 11, I'll now discuss the proposed wastewater rates. So slide 12, MSD project clear in the regulatory requirements. Again, I mentioned we need to get the rain out, repair and maintain the system, and if necessary, build system improvements. We want to do this in a financially responsible way. One of the ways we do this, our proposal is to make sure in the long term we maintain a AA bond rating at all times through the process. If you go to slide 13, what's in the wastewater proposal, we're proposing $1.5 billion of capital work to start in our fiscal 17 through 20, $736 million of operation and maintenance activity, and $477 million of debt service. Go to page 14, you'll see the plan schedule to appropriate the capital work. You'll see the costs range from $330 million to $440 million in 2020, coming to the total of $1.5 billion. If you look at this chart, you need to take away this is a continuous program. MSD has been working on this program for decades. This is just a continuation of that program in order to address all issues. If you turn to slide 15 regarding how we'll pay for the program, we'll do the next 4 years worth of program and the capital program through a combination of cash and bond financing. Total cash being requested is $415 million. The total bond financing, $1.11 billion. That will require us to request $900 million of additional bond authorization, bringing our total debt authorized to $2.62 billion. 100% of the debt bond proceeds will be used to build capital projects. What will we accomplish? If you turn to slide 16, we will do 600 planning, design, and construction projects. 226 of those will be actual construction projects. We'll remove 39 sanitary sewer overflows that are currently in the system and discharging to local creeks and streams during wet weather. And we will begin the design of 24 miles of storage and conveyance tunnels. If you go to slide 17, this is a map showing where those wastewater projects will be. I want to point out at the bottom of the maps of some of these slides, you will find a reference, in this case, Appendix 7.2.2. That is referencing where in our rate proposal, which can be found on our website, where you can find this information and additional information. This map shows where every project is. There's an identifier number with that project. You went to our rate proposal, you would find a chart, a list of these projects based on that number. You want to know exactly where the project is, what problem it was solving, what size it was, and what the cost of the individual projects are. Slide 18 is our anticipated operating costs. You note they go up an average of about 2 to 3% per year. A lot of the costs associated with the construction of some new facilities of our plants are being absorbed prior to this rate proposal. In fiscal 16, we plan on spending $178 million. That will, by fiscal 20, go to $193 million in order to operate and maintain wastewater collection system, pump stations, and plants. What will we get from that? You go to slide 19. We plan on inspecting 60,000 manholes, rehabilitating 6,000 manholes, doing 1,600 miles of closed circuit TV inspection of the system, looking for blockages and problems within the system, clean 3,800 miles of sewers, and rehabilitate 360 miles of sewer. Slide 20 is the impact to the average wastewater customer. Take a look at the chart. Fiscal 16 is the last rate, increase that's in the current rate cycle. That will occur in July 2015. Shows the average monthly bill for a residential customer with bond financing to be $40.72. After that, the rate goes up, resulting in an average bill increase of about 10% per year, ending in fiscal year 2020 with an average bill just over $60 per month. Slide 21 gives you a comparison of what happens with bond financing and without bond financing. You look on the left-hand side, it's titled Option A. We are assuming $900 million of additional bonding, a $1.5 billion four-year capital program, and you see below there what the average single-family wastewater bill will be per month. That's identical to the information I previously gave you. There is a possibility that the voters will reject giving us additional bond authorization. This doesn't mean we don't do the program. The program must be built. Therefore, under this, we've assumed zero use of additional bonds because we were unable to obtain additional bonding authority. Still building the $1.5 billion program. And there you see the average single-family wastewater bill per month. Again, in 16, $40.72. Fiscal 17, we've left identical in both scenarios at $44.72, but then you see large increases culminating in fiscal year 2020 with an average monthly bill of $96 per month. Page 22, stormwater service. Now again, remember this is funded from a completely different funding source and it's a different utility within our structure. What does the current stormwater service look like? Turn to page 23. Again, MSD assumes stormwater management inside of I-270 in 1954 when we were originally created. The stormwater service varies dramatically throughout the area. After 1954, in 1989, we annexed additional area to the west, out to about 109 in Wildwood. The amount of taxes we collect in certain areas is different, and therefore the services are different. The stormwater is currently funded through a small combined fee, but mostly through property taxes. There are 3 zones of stormwater funding that overlap in MSD. In a couple different ways, I'm going to cut this and explain it to try and help you understand why there's a different amount of monies we collect in different areas, and thus the resulting service level. Turn to page 24. First of all, there is a 2-cent district-wide tax and a 24-cent monthly charge that we charge our existing wastewater customers for stormwater service throughout the district. If you look at the chart, that results in a total revenue of about $6.4 million. That allows us to fund local, state, and federal regulatory compliance, most of it having to do with water quality issues resulting from stormwater runoff in the area. We're able to collect data and track stormwater issues, and we're also allowed to do emergency response. Again, if you look at this map, that is the current existing boundaries of MSD, and we collect that 2-cent fee and the 2-cent tax and the fee throughout the entire district. If you turn to page 25, that yellow area is approximately the original boundaries of the district when we were formed in 1954. In that area, we collect an additional approximate 7 cents property tax, which results in additional revenues of about $10 million. So this is on top of that pink area. So therefore, since they are still paying the 2-cent property tax, we are able to take care of regulatory compliance, data collection, and emergency response. But in that yellow area, we're able to pretty well maintain the existing stormwater, the public stormwater system. This would be pipes, inlets, manholes, and paved channels. Finally, on top of the yellow area, there's a green area where an additional property tax is levied, up to 10 cents per $100 valuation. There, the service level, again, understanding the pink area is underneath it. They still pay the 2-cent tax. We're still able to do the regulatory work, data collection, and emergency response. The yellow area is also under this, the 7-cent tax. Therefore, we're able to pretty well maintain the public storm sewer system. The green area, that additional funding, allows us to do projects we can't do anywhere else. These are things such as erosion control, backyard flooding, floodplain issues. We're able to build capital projects to address those only in the green areas. That green area actually consists of 21 separate different taxing sub-districts. Whatever monies we collect in those individual districts, we have to spend back in those original districts. So if you go to slide 27, I'm going to explain it a little different way. You take a look at, and I'll start at the bottom of the chart, if you live now in the pink area, where the only tax we're collecting is a 2-cent property tax and a 24-cent fee, all you get are local, state, and regulatory compliance, data collection, and emergency response. If you live in the yellow area, which is also paying the 2-cent tax, you get all of the below, plus we're also able to maintain the storm sewer system. Finally, if you live in the green area and pay the additional 10-cent tax, you get all of the below, you get the regulatory work, you get the maintenance of the storm sewer systems. We're also able to do an amount of capital projects up to the limit of the funding. As you can see, depending on where you live, there's a variation in the type of services you receive. If you think about this, we always use Creve Coeur as a prime example of the disparity here. Creve Coeur, the western half is located in the red area, the eastern half is located in the green area. So the western half pays very little, gets very little service. The eastern half of Creve Coeur pays all the taxes that we charge, and they get services that include regulatory issues, maintenance of the stormwater system, and capital projects to address stormwater issues. So those are the individual taxes, but what does that really mean in a dollar amount, an actual impact to customers? Again, starting from the bottom of the chart, if you live in the pink area, paying the 24-cent fee and the 2-cent property tax, and you live in a $142,000 home, your property tax annually, your total cost is about $8 per year. If you live in the yellow area, you're paying the 24-cent fee, the 2-cent property tax, you're also paying a 7-cent tax. Your average annual cost for the services you receive are $26 per year. Finally, if you live in the green area, you're paying the 2-cent tax, the 7-cent tax, and up to a 10-cent tax. And for the average customer with a $142,000 home, the average cost on their annual property tax bill is $53 per year. Going to slide 29, we're going to take a brief moment just to describe what the main issue is. There's obviously a lot of issues with the way these revenues are collected and the services are provided. We're going to describe what MSD feels is the main issue that we need to address. As I mentioned before, in the pink area, which is the entire district, we collect a 2-cent tax. That allows us to meet all the regulatory requirements with regard to stormwater. We're able to do plan review and permitting with regard to runoff from the property, whether it's volume, whether it has to do with the water quality coming off that runoff. We can investigate complaints and do data collection, and if necessary, we can make emergency response whenever there's a health and safety situation. Slide 30 is somewhat representative of the work we do and the facilities we maintain. All of the blue lines you see here are creeks. There's about 1,150 miles of creeks that are impacted by stormwater runoff and the pollutants in those runoffs. We have to monitor those, and we have to make sure that any runoff that happens in the future, that we make sure developers provide facilities to capture and help treat some of that stormwater prior to it entering and impacting those local creeks and streams. You also see a lot of green dots. There's about 2,640 of those. Those are things like typical basins, which hold water back to prevent flooding downstream, but also something called BMPs, or best management practices. These are facilities that are used to catch runoff and help treat some of the stormwater and reduce the amount of pollutants that stormwater discharges to the local creeks and stream. This activity district-wide is currently funded with that 2-cent tax. Slide 31 is what is not funded. You take a look at this, all the black lines that you see outside the gray area represent about 1,360 miles of storm sewer. That storm sewer is MSD's, but is not funded for operation and maintenance. If we have problems with an inlet, if we have a storm sewer that's leaking and causing settlement in somebody's backyard, if it's discharging and causing an amount of erosion, we cannot fix those problems. There are no revenues available to inspect and maintain that system. It is currently not funded. And there's actually two things going on here. Not only are those facilities not funded, but the folks living in that area are also not paying for the O&M for the stormwater system that they may or may not use throughout our entire district. So how do we propose to change that? You go to slide 33. There's two parts of the proposal. One, we're recommending an increase in our operation and maintenance cost over the next 4 years to a total of $91 million. Also, we are proposing a 6-year program starting in 2015 through 2020 to build almost $100 million of capital program to address stormwater issues throughout the district. Slide 34, what's the driver? Again, as I explained, the biggest one is the necessary maintenance of the public storm sewer system. We have a big part of our system that's never had funding to provide operation and maintenance. We'll also initiate a 6-year funding program to start addressing some of the stormwater issues that are located throughout the entire district. If you turn to page 35, what happens with the operating cost? At the end of the current cycle in fiscal 16, we will collect $16 million for operating costs. If the new tax that we're proposing goes in place, you will see an increase and an average cost of about $22 to $23 million a year in operating cost. Most of that comes from us just simply extending our service outside our original boundaries and into that area I just described where no operation and maintenance has been done with the stormwater system. If you turn to page 36, we also have stormwater projects that this change will enable us to do. I'll start with the green area. That green area indicates 64 projects worth $25 million. Again, I would mention the reference at the bottom on the appendix number. All these projects have a reference number by them. If you went to our rate proposal, there's an actual list with that number describing what that project is, what it resolves, and what the cost of the project is. We would do most of that $25 million anyway with the taxes we're currently collecting, but we would do something less because we are right now taking some of that tax that's collected out of the green area, having to use it for operation and maintenance of the public storm system within the green area. The yellow area, we list 47 projects, total about $17.5 million. You can see where the yellow area is. These are projects in the city of St. Louis and in near North, West, and South County. About half the projects are done within the city of St. Louis, about half outside the city of St. Louis. This yellow area has never been able to have capital work done to resolve stormwater issues. With the accounting change that the proposed vote we're putting out, we are able to release some funding to take care of stormwater problems within that yellow area. This is a one-time expenditure through 2020. That $17.5 million will spend all the dollars that are available for capital work in the yellow area. Finally, in the red area, we identify 59 projects, total cost about $7.5 million. While we haven't been doing capital projects, we have been gathering data on what the stormwater problems are. Again, if you go to our rate proposal, each one of those projects are listed by number. You'll be able to find out what the project is, where it is, what problem it's solving, and what the cost of it is. The monies for these projects come from the new tax that we're going to be proposing, and the gap there is between what we're asking and the cost of operation and maintenance district-wide. It's not a big number. You'll notice over those 4 years, we're talking about only $7.5 million worth of construction. But it is a start at providing a fund that allows us to address stormwater capital issues district-wide. Slide 37, again, we'll talk about what's going to happen with the individual taxes. Again, those OMCI sub-district taxes, this is the green area. Folks are paying an extra 5 to 10 cents per $100 valuation. What we will propose is to set that rate at 0. In the yellow area, where we have a stormwater operation and maintenance tax, where there's currently a 7-cent property tax per $100 of value 7 cents per $100 of valuation for property. The new tax that we're proposing will replace that, and we will no longer charge that tax. In the red area, the 2-cent district-wide regulatory tax, the 2-cent tax on the property tax, we're proposing to leave it in place to continue at addressing regulatory issues. And finally, we will be proposing a new 10-cent district-wide tax to provide a consistent service level and some level of capital work to be done throughout the entire district. How that impacts you depends on where you live in the district. Again, the current methodology collects a different tax rate from everybody and thus provides a different service level. So this is an indication of what happens in the green area. The average valuation of a property in the green area is $184,500. Right now, folks are paying on an average annual property tax bill $62 per year. That will go down about $20 per year to $42 per year on your property tax. The overall impact on the total property tax bill is a decrease of about 0.5%. In the yellow area, the average property is valued at $70,800. The average cost annually on the property tax for folks living in that area is about $12.50 per year. The proposal will increase that $3.60 to an average annual cost on your property tax bill of $16.10. That's a change in the average person's overall property tax bill of 0.3%. Slide 40, in the red area, again, remember this is an area where we're collecting very little funds, and therefore providing very little services. The average valuation of property in this area is $266,700. Right now, the average annual cost on the annual property tax bill for these people is about $10.50 per year. That will go up about $50 per year, resulting in an average annual property tax collected by MSD of $60 per year. That will result in a total impact of the entire property tax bill for those folks of about 1.2%. Slide 41, we're going to go over what this means overall, kind of combining these two proposals together. If you look at slide 42, the left-hand side, and again, these have been annualized costs. I've been talking back and forth about annual cost and monthly cost depending on which service. These are annual costs. So if you look on the left-hand column, proposed average annual costs. In fiscal year 16, the end of the current cycle, the annual customer cost for the average single-family residential is currently $522 per year. With bonding, that will go up to about $772 per year. The right-hand column, as I discussed, had to do with wastewater bonding, whether or not additional bonding was authorized. Assuming the voters do not authorize additional bonding, right now in fiscal 16, at the end of the current cycle, again, $522 annual cost. Without bonding, that average annual cost will go up to about $1,200 per year. Slide 43 is the same information having to do with low-income customers. How is this impacted? We do have a low-income program for low-income individuals. They can pay half the wastewater rate. That's part of the reduction. The other part is depending on where you live and what the value of your property is. The lower the value of the property, the lower cost you have to pay. So you can compare these numbers with the numbers on the previous slide In either case, overall, you will see an average increase in revenues to MSD of about 10% per year up till 2020. Slide 44 is the process that we'll go through in the future. On February 26, 2015, MSD submitted its rate proposal to its Board of Trustees and its Rate Commission. We do have a final wastewater increase that will go into effect on July 1, 2015. That increase is in the current rate cycle. The Rate Commission recommendation to our board is due in August 2015. The MSD board approves a revenue plan. That review will go on between October and December 2015, followed by two elections sometime in calendar 2016. And there'll be two very different elections. On the wastewater side, as we saw previously, we will ask the voters, do you want us to fund the capital and operating work that we need to perform in fiscals 2017 through 2020? Do you want us to do it with additional bond authorization, or do you want to pay cash to pay for those costs? It will be up to the voters to decide whether or not we receive an additional $900 million of bond authorization. Second vote has to do with stormwater. We will ask all of the residents within the district boundaries to vote on whether or not to assess an additional 10 cents per $100 valuation for all properties located within the district. If they say yes, the program will change as I last described. We will have a consistent level of O&M on the stormwater system district-wide, and we will be able to start doing capital work district-wide. If the voters say no, the service level will remain as it is. If you live in the original area, if you remember the green area, you'll get pretty good service and you'll get some work done. If you live in the yellow area, we'll be able to maintain the system. However, we won't be able to do any capital work. And if you live in the red area, we will continue to do regulatory activities, but we will not be able to maintain the stormwater system nor do any capital projects to improve the stormwater system. Slide 45 is comment information. If you want to submit formal comments, there's information here on how to do that. We are having a series of public meetings now. Later on, we were doing these in March and April. Later on, our Rate Commission will hold public meetings in May and June specifically for the purpose of obtaining public comment. However, you can comment at any time, and you can use this contact location in order to do that. Also, if you wish to intervene and participate in the process, there's also contact information on how to submit an application to intervene. That's the end of the proposal. I do want to point out there are some other documents that are available on our website. One is called Learn About MSD's Rate Proposal for 2017 through 2020. It lists the public meetings of this kind that are available where MSD staff will describe the rate proposal that we submitted to both our board and our Rate Commission. There's another document called MSD Rate Commission. That one gives you the schedule for the Rate Commission and also lists the planned meetings that the Rate Commission will hold to present the proposal that MSD is describing and to formally obtain public input. Finally, there's another document called 2015 MSD Rate Proposal. The front page summates what will happen to wastewater rates depending on whether or not we get additional bonding authority, and the backside of that sheet has the same explanation with regard to stormwater, what the change in services will be, and what the impact will be to individual ratepayers. And finally, there's one other document that is titled Project Clear. That document just gives you some good general overall information about the district. That's all I have for this evening. I want to thank everybody for coming and paying attention to the presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the contact information at the end of the presentation. Thank you.